What's up, everybody? This is Tommy McCollister, and this is High Level Husband Podcast, episode 4. I'm sorry, I just want to apologize. It's been a couple weeks since I've jumped on here and done an episode, but life has been absolutely amazing and incredibly busy, and so normally I don't like to use those as excuses, but really this had to fall back on the back burner with everything that's been going on, because number one in my life is pursuing my relationship with God and make sure that I'm serving Him well. And that makes sure I'm serving my family well, make sure I'm serving my clients well, right? But on top of that, make sure I'm serving myself well. I've been in and out of town for the past 5 weeks, and we just fresh off a weekend where we had, 3 couples from around the country come in and stay with us personally in our house for a marriage retreat out here in Vegas. And then we had somebody else fly in, another coach fly in to just, help support and drop love to the people. And then we had some friends from out here in Vegas in and out, dropping some knowledge as well. And so I was running on fumes this morning, but I'm back and my energy's high. Why? Because this weekend was one of the best weekends of my life for multiple reasons. But one of the main ones is because I had casted vision on this weekend for a while, and it came to fruition. And one of the biggest things I'm going to talk about this week, this episode, is the importance of community. But here's a mind-blowing story about that. I mean, it kind of leads all in one. But the way this weekend came together, I had been praying about, and my number one prayer was that the right people would be in this room. It wasn't going to be about who could show up with the most amount of money first and say, I want in and all of this, because a lot of people applied and not everybody got to come. 3 couples were chosen, and it was the right 3 couples that were supposed to be here. And I'm beyond thankful for that. And the way the weekend went with all the things that God laid on my heart that I wanted to do, that I needed to do this weekend for them, all of it was impactful in many different ways, which was beautiful. But the cool thing was the other coach that flew in to be with me on this weekend. We were on top of this mountain that we climbed with our clients, and overlooking the whole Las Vegas Valley. And it was an 8-mile round trip hike, and amazing conversations, amazing things that we released from our life at different things that we had planned on this hike. But at the top of the mountain, the other coach looked at me. His name's James, by the way. James looked at me and said, "Hey, brother," he says, "let me tell you something." I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he's like, "You know what's surreal? Is that we were on top of this mountain 3 months ago," which James was up there. 3 months ago, him and my wife climbed that same mountain and did a very similar exercise, but that was just for us to do as fun. But it turned into a very emotional weekend that weekend when he was here in July. And he said, "You know, brother, when we're on top of this mountain, you casted vision. You said, we're going to bring people up here one day, and we're going to run them through this exact same exercise that we just ran through for you guys. And it's going to be life-changing." And I had forgot about saying that until he reminded me, until we were on top of the mountain. And then I look around and I see 6 other people who came from across the country to be with us, and that vision came to life. When we move with speed and we say we're going to do something, that's how confidence builds. When the cool thing is, one of the couples who came this weekend had sent me something about a couples retreat, and I said, she's already been one of our clients, her and her husband, and they're amazing people. And I said, I'm going to do something like that first quarter of next year. And then I texted her later in the day and I said, actually, I'm not going to do it first quarter of next year. I'm going to do it in 6 weeks. And sure enough, we did it in 6 weeks. And the cool thing was, it was the only free weekend I had out of the next 6 weeks. So we just literally put it together and made it happen, and we were up there, and God blessed it. Why? Because I gave him something to work with, and I know I was going to back it up. And then when I said I'm going to do something, then my confidence goes up, right, when we do it. And so how do you think I'm feeling coming out of this weekend? When I said I'm going to do something, I'll make it happen, right? And I did. And it went off because I laid it all at the feet of the cross. And I said, God, this is all on you. However you want me to lead this weekend, it's on you. However you want me to impact these people, it's on you. And he went off. And so it was cool. But what I want to talk about community is this, is I was preaching all weekend about being a family of choice. And I said, if you guys are all vulnerable and real by the end of this weekend, we will become a family of choice. Because what people always think is that blood is thicker than water. And what they mean when they say that, right, is that family comes first, right? But that's not what blood is thicker than water means. Maybe in modern day terms, that's what people switched it and flipped it. But what blood is thicker than water means, it comes from Roman times. And what it meant was when you go to battle together and you shed blood together, that is thicker than the water of the womb. So it means that the people that you go to battle with, your bond is more so than your family. Now, maybe you've gone to battle with your family and that's blood. But some of us just, we have okay relationships with our family and we still talk to them or check in with them because they're family, but we're really not all have much in common other than just being that we're family. Maybe we don't even really like each other all that much, but we're family, so we tolerate each other. I have people in my family, and some of the people that I actually consider brothers that I tell I love that are actually blood is thicker than water are people that I've met in communities like this. And those people that came out this weekend, now I consider that a family of choice because we went to battle emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, and we had a lot of fun at the same time. And now blood is thicker than water for them. And that was powerful. But the cool thing was we took them to church with us on Sunday. We go to a pretty big church out here in Vegas, and it's an amazing church. And I preached to him all weekend about becoming that family of choice and the importance of having people in your life. And there's one person who definitely needs strong men in his life. And I said, brother, make sure when you get back home, you have strong men in your life. But make sure you stay connected with us now that we're becoming this family and that we keep you growing in multiple different areas. And I preached that theme all weekend. Well, then when we go to church on Sunday, I'm connected to the church, but not much other than I just go there. I don't know the pastor. I don't know any of that. His whole message yesterday was on the importance of community. And at the end of his sermon, one of the wives from our group looks at me and she says, did you pay him to do that message? And I said, no, but my mind is blown, and theirs was too, because how did God move? After a weekend that they devoted to come out to be a part of a community, that we go to church and the message is about the exact same thing that I just preached, and I had no idea they were going to preach that. Is that just a coincidence? I don't believe in coincidences, and I do not believe in luck. I believe in divine intervention. But why did that happen? Why did they do that message that weekend? Partially because I had my retreat. Because God saw the chessboard, and he can remove pieces around, knowing that it's not only going to be huge for my people, but for the people of the church as well, in their own different ways. There's multiple scenarios and agendas playing out, and it served them all. So when he gave that pastor the message of his heart that he wanted him to speak, he knew in advance that I was doing this retreat and was going to have him there, which is beautiful. It just solidified for my people this weekend on how real God is, and that was everything I was preaching just got solidified. Was like, yeah, God just gave you that little wink. Like, yep, I agree. And so that was powerful. But that's where I want you to really take a look at your life right now and really look around and ask yourself, do you have a family of choice? Take a look at your friends. One of the biggest things that I have my clients do when they start working with us is taking a look at their surroundings. Who are they spending time with? What kind of content are they consuming? What kind of songs are they listening to? What kind of shows are they watching? All this other thing. What are they surrounding themselves with? Because even if they're not choosing negativity or to be a part of certain agendas, when we consume those things, even if it's fake shows, it seeps into our subconscious minds and it comes out of our mouth and our hearts. Hip hop, rap has always been my favorite genre of all my life, right? Like that was my thing, and especially in my teens. It's just those were some of the hardest years of my life, and I really leaned on rap during those years. Like it was the pain they were speaking about. Obviously, it was different than what I was going through because a lot of this was from the streets and stuff, and I wasn't part of the streets, obviously. But at the same time, I had my own struggle, and so it got me through. And I've always loved rap and hip hop, and then eventually so that I became a rapper. Some of you guys don't know that, but in my early 20s, that's how God started blessing me with the gift to speak, and that was because I was the shyest kid in my high school, didn't talk to anybody, didn't kiss a girl until I was after I graduated high school, right? Like some of you've heard that story. But then a couple years later, then I'm rocking shows with some of the biggest artists at that time. A little flashback for some of you: Bone Thugs and Harmony, E40. The list could go on. Like, not that I was on stage at the exact same time, but I was opening up for these people, right? I was making songs with people who were in the same circles and all of that, right? And it was cool to see. And rap was a big part of my life. But here we are at 42. Yesterday was my birthday, by the way. And I still listen to rap periodically, but a lot of that stuff, even though I listen to it just because of how it sounds, like it's just pleasing on the ears, I had to stop listening because some of the message just wasn't what I wanted in my brain. And some people say, well, that's ludicrous. It doesn't mean you're going to go do that stuff. Well, no, you're probably not going to go do that stuff, but you're corrupting your thoughts a little bit. You're watering down some stuff that you don't see. Because your brain right now is not telling your heart to beat. Is telling your heart to beat, but you don't know it. Your brain right now is telling your lungs to take breaths, but you're not specifically telling it to. But if you removed your brain from your head, your lungs would stop going for breath. Your heart would stop beating because it needs something to tell it to do it. Well, that's also our subconscious mind. So when we're consuming things that we're specifically not like, well, of course I'm not, sleeping around and doing this, that, and the other. And I know not hip-hop's not all about that, but it is a lot of braggadocio and some other stuff that's going on. And when those songs go into our souls, it does come out of our actions in a slight different way that maybe we're not seeing. Maybe it's just corrupting us 1 or 2%, right? That we don't see. Well, that 1 or 2% over the course of every single day could affect huge things. It's like if your truck is just out of alignment by just a hair and you let go of the wheel, you could probably drive straight down the highway for a long time, but eventually you're going to be way off course. Even if it's just 1% out of alignment, because over time it's going to take you off course. Same thing when your subconscious mind is only a few percentage points off, it's going to slowly take you off course. Ask yourself this: have you ever said to yourself, I don't know how I got here. I don't know how my marriage got here. Gosh, years ago I used to be happy. Years ago I used to be this. What's going on? We can't attribute to getting old, because getting older is just a choice to a certain extent, majority of it. So we got to ask ourselves, how did we get here? Sometimes just by that 1 or 2% course correction, by us consuming things that we shouldn't be consuming. But then when we do start taking notice of what we're consuming, now we're taking control back. So I only try to consume worship songs like that just have that positive message, because you know what? I'm a pretty positive person and I don't want it to go any other way. One of the couples that came out here for this marriage retreat, I would say their marriage is already at a 9 out of 10. When some of the other couples wasn't. Their marriage is not a 9 out of 10. But because they're winning, because they're already at that 9 out of 10, guess what? They're going to stay always at a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. They're going to stay in that range, because when you're winning, when you're on the mountaintops and you continue to grow and you continue to push and you continue to challenge yourself and experience new things and do all that, then now you're only going to slide down a little bit. When rough times hits, rough times is going to mean an 8 out of 10 rather than a 1 out of 10. But if we're only winning or fighting to get better when things are hard, that means we're probably only sitting normally at about a 5 or a 6. So then when the times get hard, guess what that means? We're going to go to a 4 or 3. Well, a 4 or 3 is a really rough time. So if we're waiting to only do that, then we're only going to hover around that mediocre area. Don't be too good to be great. A lot of people are just good. But I'm going to be real with you. If I was to look at percentage of people in general and have like 100% clear view, and I can see it a lot clearer now than I used to, because this is the life I live and this is the people I surround myself with, and this is just the vision God has blessed me with, and to be able to prophesy over certain things like this and be able to see people's BS a little bit more than they can see it themselves, because people used to be able to see that about me when I had no idea. Is I would say that the people who are doing great, I would probably say 15%. I would probably say the people that are doing good, I would probably say around 35 to 40%. And then all the rest percent, people are subpar. But they've just thought that that's just normal because we're getting older and that's just what happens, because we got bills to pay and we got to take care of our kids and all this other BS that they come up with excuses for. Don't let that be you. My kids get less time with me now than they used to. But the time they get with me now is far better quality than they used to, because I surround myself with such high quality people in my other areas of life that when I show up for them, they get their dad that's a rock star. But when I was mediocre or okay, too good to be great, they got more time with me, but they didn't get as good of time with me because I wasn't able to show up for them as good. We went to Disneyland a few weeks ago, and I was able to fully check out off my business, and my business is like so important because it's my God-given purpose. But I was able to fully check out and just be like locked in with my kids and just being a kid and being playful and having fun and all of that. Because I'm at high quality personnel and I see the way other people in my circle lead their kids, and I'm going to emulate that. And I know what God's putting on me, that he's going to take care of my business while I'm at Disneyland so I can go spend this quality time with my kids and pour into them. But years ago, when I was too good to be great or just living an okay life and we would go to Disneyland every year, guess what? My mind wouldn't be at Disneyland. It'd be on other things. So even though I was somewhat there, somewhat enjoying myself, I wasn't the dad that I was now. And really being there and having the laughs with them and joking and all this other stuff, the conversations. But that all happens because of the people that are in my life, my family of choice. I've cut majority of people out of my life. And not because I necessarily think I'm better than them, but I've grown in a different area. They're good people, but a lot of them are still lost or stuck. And you only can offer an olive branch, and you can only reach out and put your hand out to help them so much. Before you got to say, you know what, my arm's getting kind of tired sitting here waiting for you to grab my hand. You had your chance. You've lost it. When you're fully ready, come knocking, and I'll be there again. But I'm just no longer going to hold my hand out like that right now, because I got to go put my hand out for the people that really want to reach out and grab it. And when you reach out and grab it, I'm going to be pulling with all my strength to get you to where you want to be. Not where I want you to be, but where God wants you to be. Because oftentimes it's where we want it to be, right? And when I wanted my spots in life to be where they wanted to be, they never happened. And even when I somewhat got there, it felt bad. Why did it feel bad? Because it wasn't where God wanted me to be. It wasn't where God wanted me to be. And now I just take my whole life, set it at the feet of Christ, and I say, God, wherever you want me to go, just let me know. Just guide the way. And a lot of times that is, I just don't see. I'm just walking through a little bit of fog, right? But it's always good on the other side of where I need to be at that moment. Now, sometimes that's going to be a little bit of pain because God says, yo, I need to strengthen you up a little bit. So I'm going to put you in the furnace a little bit and let you get some strength. I'm going to let you have a little bit of strife right now because you need a little bit more strength. Or maybe you need a little bit more patience. Or maybe you need a little more of this. But then he also lets me go and have those great times, which I'm going through a lot of great times. But it all happens because of the people I've surrounded myself with in my life. One of the cool things about this weekend was one of my best friends, his name's James, I was telling you, one of the coaches who flew in. When I cast a vision for this, we talked about it, right? But then, at that point in time, I wasn't sure when I was going to make it happen. But when I eventually made this decision I was going to put this weekend on, I reached out to him. I said, hey, bro, I want you to come and be a part of this. And of course, he was like, yeah, man, however I can serve. I was like, cool. But here's the thing about him. He's an amazing person, one of the biggest hearts I've ever seen in my life, and like I said, one of my best friends. But the only thing missing from our relationship is that he believes in God, but he doesn't necessarily know what that means. He kind of believes that there's a higher power, things like that. He kind of floats around from a little bit like spirituality type stuff, and doesn't necessarily believe in Jesus. Well, you guys know how I feel about Jesus. And especially how I'm only getting closer to him and a better relationship to him all the time, that it started to put a gap between me and James. And that started hurting my heart because this is my guy. And when I was thinking about this weekend, I was like, man, I'm not sure if he's going to be a good fit because I'm going in on Jesus this weekend. Christ is going to show up. I already know this is my 7th time being at an in-person event in the past 5 months. And I was like, man, I just don't want anything to water that down. So if everybody else is being vulnerable in Christ, I don't want his message to kind of muddy the water. Now, that was me limiting him because I know he would never do that. And so that's my fault and my flaw. And some other things came into play, but the week before the event, I was like, "Hey, bro, so maybe I don't think this maybe is going to be the best, time for you to come." And he called me and he said, "Bro," he says, "I'm coming as long as that's cool with you." And I said, "You know what, man?" I said, "That right there just proved to me that you need to be here," and humbled me quite a bit. And he came and he blew the minds of my people. But one of my favorite moments of the weekend was yesterday. I didn't plan this weekend to be on my birthday. It was just the only weekend I was free, and he was still here after everybody went home, and we went out to dinner last night with one of my other best friends and his family and my wife and my kids, and he said, bro, he said something happened this weekend. He says, recently I've been praying to God more, but I just, he says, I'm not saying I'm converting or anything like that, but there was something different today at church and this weekend, right? That just spoke to him. He kept his heart open. And you know what happened? He surrounded himself with a community of believers. Whereas the people he normally hangs out with aren't like the caliber of people that were in the room this weekend that have faith like the people in this weekend. And you know what happens when you surround yourself with people like that? That means the Holy Spirit's there that much more, because where he shows up more, the more we allow him to come into our life, the more he'll show up. So he shows up, right? So now you have this room full of people who we've invited Christ into our life so much that he's really there. And then when you get somebody who doesn't know Christ in the room, Christ is so much more present that he can't help but notice, like, yo, what's going on in this room? Crazy things are happening. I'm feeling things that I haven't felt before. What's going on? And now he's looking into pursuing that relationship with Christ. As I was praying over him at one point in the weekend, I was praying that he just understands that Jesus is just relationship. It's not rules. It's not religion. It's a relationship. And that relationship is going to be different for him than it is for me, and for every other person in this room, and for you. It's going to be different. Christ wants that relationship with everybody, but it doesn't got to look the exact same. He knows exactly the way that your relationship with him needs to be. And so that was one of the more powerful weekends this thing for me, because he surrounded himself with people who know what's up. And guess what happened? Now he knows what's up. And so the cool thing is sometimes we all need to go through, and I guarantee I could ask everybody in this room, like, for whatever the money you had to pay to come, or the strife you had to go through in your marriage, or whatever your things are going, would you go through that again? Obviously they wanted to come this weekend and they all loved it, but I'm just saying, not just this weekend, but like all the things that led them to the pain to maybe coming to this weekend. Would you go through it again knowing that somebody there this weekend would find Christ? I guarantee all of them would say yes. Because the mission for all of us is to get to heaven and bring as many people with us as we can. And that's what happened. But now we get in one of the realists on our side. And Mom, I'm excited to see how many people he brings, because it's going to be a lot. We can't block our blessings, as you've heard in other ones, right? When you just keep that open heart and say yes to people coming in your life, good things happen. As the pastor was saying yesterday, the church is something special with where the church is at. But the church, to a certain extent, is just a building. You know what the church is? It's the people in it. You will never become who God has created you to be by yourself. You won't. You can't. You can become pretty good, but you're never going to be great by yourself. God will take you there, but he's always going to put people in your path to be able to do that. But oftentimes we block that. Though that is, put your money where your mouth is. People who came this weekend and got their mind blown, put their money where their mouth is. Right? Now they're part of my fam. I'll ride or die with these people. I'll go to war with them. Because they backed it up. So many people don't. They say they want that smoke, but they don't want that smoke. They don't. They really don't. They want to stay in their lane where maybe they're good at. And that's a good thing, but maybe add a few other things that you're good. Level up some of the weaknesses. That's what I'm saying. And for some people, they say, well, I'm an introvert. I don't like hanging out with people. Well, guess what? That's a limiting belief that you have. Because I used to have that in a lot of different ways. I said I had no talent. And I believed it, and everybody told me that about that. Well, guess what? I'm one of the most sought out marriage coaches there is, right? But I thought I had no talent because that's what I said I was. But God said differently. Check out this exercise. You can do it right now for yourself. I have my clients do it at times. I would like you to do it for yourself. I'm going to drop you some value right here. How do you see yourself, right? I know how you see yourself. Could be, no matter where you're at, it's probably pretty good. But I want you to take a few minutes, write this exercise down, and do it after you're done listening to this. And ask yourself, how does God see me? How does God see me? How does he? But pray on it, meditate on it, think on that for a few minutes. Because I know how you might see yourself. I know how you might think other people see you. But how does God see you? That's what matters the most. And so when you do that, write it down on a piece of paper how God sees you in your full glory of what you are, right? Not like how God sees you if you're struggling, you're doing bad things in Atlanta. He's not going to be like, well, Johnny, he's robbing banks and he's snorting pills and he's cheating on his wife. Like, that's not how God sees you right now. I mean how he really sees you, like you in your full potential, in your full greatness, in your full love, in fully what you are worthy of and am inside of you that you're just maybe pushing down. That's what I mean how he sees you, right? It's the same way we see our kids differently. Here's a little side story. My mom's one of the most holy people I know, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And I'm not just saying that because she's my mom, but because it's the truth and I could back it up with everybody who's met her would say the same thing from 99% of the people, right? Well, my mom watches the news, unfortunately, and she'll always be like, that's a terrible person did that. It's so sad, right? But a few years ago, this is probably 8 years ago now, maybe even longer, her cousin, who's the same age, maybe actually might have been a little younger than her at the time, was probably in his late 50s, had a drug problem. She wasn't very close with him, but she would see him a few times a year. And he ran somebody over with his car on purpose who was also another drug addict, and they were in a dispute. Purposely ran them over with his car, didn't kill him. And then so he got a prison sentence, and I think it was like 10 years. He got out early with good behavior, turned his life around, found Christ, a bunch of good stuff, which was a blessing. But the whole time he was in jail, the whole time he was in prison, my mom was like writing letters to let him out, like just saying how, he was just influenced by the drugs and he's a much better person than this and all of that. Because that's how she saw him and knew him, how he used to be before the drugs, right? But I always tell her, I go, Mom, he ran somebody over with his car. I go, what if somebody ran me over with their car? Are you writing them letters saying to let them out? Of course, her answer was no. But she also didn't know them if they ran me over. But she knew her cousin and knew their heart. He got the sentence he deserved. But God knows us. He knows our heart. Nobody else knows your heart like God does, and he knows it more than you. So how does God see you? Write that down. Then see yourself that way and live that way, and no need to try to please every single person in this world, because they're not going to see you for how God sees you. And then that gives you freedom to be that person. Then start surrounding yourself with people who see themselves how God sees them. And when you do that, good things happen. Really, 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 really good things happen. Possibilities form. Generational chains are broke. Divine alignments come into play. Your finances will go up. Your marriage will grow. You will grow. Your confidence will grow. You will see this world in color when maybe you were looking at it in black and white. Because you start aligning yourself with other people who think that way. And then what does that group go do? It now starts infecting and affecting people in the right way. Because as I like to say, when you give people something to respect and God something to work with, good things happen. Now that quote is from one of my mentors, but it's so true. But it's also the same true as this quote. When the right people get in the right place at the right time, the right things happen. Listen to that. The right people, so that's your circle, at the right place. Now you got to come together in the same place at the right time, so you got to make a commitment for it. The right things happen. It doesn't say good things will happen. The right things happen. Where oftentimes a lot of wrong things happen. We can avoid these things. Sometimes we're like, oh, what I got to go do this. So this weekend, one of the people I really wanted in this room, and he came in and out, but on one of the moments that he needed to be there the most two moments this weekend, I know he needed to be there the most. Other things came into play where he couldn't show up, and it wasn't because he was like, I'm going to go home and chill and watch TV. No, like he had some medium excuses, right? And I love him. This is one of my best friends. But when you have a good community of people, you can call them on accountability, and this reason needs to happen so I can speak it on to here so you guys can grow from it. But one of the times was he went to a concert, and it was a secular concert, right? Of this, and the person's music's really good. And it was down on the Strip here in Las Vegas, and he went down there. And when we're here moving mountains in my living room and people are bawling their eyes out and praying over their spouse and doing all these other cool things and getting life transformation, he's in a bar where people are fighting, spilling drinks, and punching each other in the face while a professional musician's on stage. Is that the right things happening? Is that the right people getting in the right place at the right time? No, it's not. When the right people get in the right place at the right time, the right things happen. And that will be a choice that you have to make on your own. And sometimes that comes with sacrifice. Everybody who came this weekend, let me tell you this. One of the couples that came this weekend, 5 kids below the age, I think it was from 11 to like 1. 5 kids came. Did they bring their kids? No. That's an inconvenience. They had to fly cross country. Right? That's an inconvenience. That's hard. They also own a business, and one of them's full-time active duty in the military. They have to make things happen to come, and they came because they knew they had to be in the right place at the right time. Other people had the same things, and other people, 4 kids, right? But they knew they had to be here. Another person, multiple businesses. The one person used their last bit of vacation time to come here. Literally had to make it home that night because they had to be at work the next morning. No excuses, right? They made things happen because they knew they had to be here so the right things can happen in a group of a community. It's so important. Now these people are what we could call 2 a.m. friends. Look at your life right now. Do you have 2 a.m. friends? And what I mean by 2 a.m. friends is people that you can call on at 2 a.m. when the crap hits the fan and you're like, yo, I'm broken. I'm hurt. Or you need something from them. Or maybe your marriage is falling apart. Do you have that person that you can call on? Like ride or die, that at 2 a.m. sees it. Yo, this is so-and-so. Oh, I'm answering this because I know they're not calling with no BS. What's up, yo? You know, like, do you have that? That's my question to you. Do you have that? And if you don't, that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's a bad thing, but it's not a bad thing because you can literally change that right now. You know how you do that? You start reaching out to people and just showing them your heart. You start looking for those people that can become your friends. And when you change and start seeing yourself how God wants you to see you, you'll find those people. Maybe they'll be at your church. Oh, well, I prefer watching online. Sometimes at church, it just gets too busy and it's far away. No, that's an excuse and that's dumb. Then you're going to block your blessings because you're staying in your house. Then your phone might ring and you're going to answer it. Or maybe you're sitting on the couch. You're so comfortable that you're going to fall asleep. Or maybe you're eating food and you're getting distracted. Or something's going to have you distracted. You're not getting that powerful message. And as it says in the Bible, where 2 or 3 are joined, I'm there with you. Well, guess what's not happening in the living room of some place? God's not there with you as much as he would be in the church. Read scripture. It backs that up. Because then that's how you're going to find the community of people. You're not going to find them when you're sitting on your couch doing that. Right? You got to go find these people. Search them out. And you know what happens when we find things? It's fun. This weekend, one of the things we did with the couples, we all went to an escape room, broke off into 2 different teams, girls versus guys. We both did the exact same escape room. See who could do it faster. Well, you know what's fun is when you're doing an escape room, it's exciting when you unlock or figure out a puzzle, right? That's super fun and exciting. You get a dopamine hit, you're happy, you're high-fiving. Well, that's just like life. You got to go and figure these things out. Life is basically just a big escape room, and you're trying to unlock your heart. You're trying to unlock limitations. You're trying to unlock all this stuff and let good things go. Go and do that. It's fun. That's why people like playing video games, is because you unlock new things. You unbeat levels. You beat bosses. Well, how about you do that in your real life? I'm not saying don't play video games. That could be something fun for you to do on the side. But do that in your real life. That's a real video game. There's bosses out here trying to defeat you. But you may like playing Rainbow Six on the PlayStation or Xbox because you have a squad. Or maybe you like playing online Call of Duty because you have a squad. Well, guess what? Your squad is out here, surrounded by a community of people. That's your squad. And when you get that, you can really beat levels in life. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You know how prayer works? We just don't pray to God, hey, God, I really love some amazing people in my life. Please, God, you're praying day in and day out for the God to deliver these people, but then you're sitting on your couch every day watching TV. You're not going to church. You're not finding groups. You're not out meeting new people. You're not accepting invitations to go do things. And you're like, God, why aren't you giving me these people? I'm praying for it. Man, prayer sure doesn't work. No, it's because you don't work. It's because you're not working your actions. That's what it is. It means being uncomfortable sometimes. And I speak that because that's been me. I blocked my blessings for so many years. I went through a season of darkness. 12 years on fire, 7, 8 years of darkness, and now I'm back on fire for a couple years. But even to get out of that fire, I had to knock that darkness off me for a few years. Just wasn't like, oh, hey, I'm back. Here we go again. Light all over me. No, but it sure got lighter as I went. And then now I feel like I almost at the sun that's so light in my life, right? Call me bragging, call me cocky, call me what you want. I don't really care because guess you know what I am? I'm a child of God who loves God, who's here to serve God, my family, my kids, my friends, and you. I'm on fire for God because I see things happening. I've witnessed miracles. And what I've seen, I can't unsee. So when people doubt Christians, they're like, man, they're crazy. Well, no, we can't unsee what we've seen. You just haven't seen it yet. And if you are a Christian, there's a difference between a believer and a kingdom-focused person. Are you just checking the box? Well, I love God, so I'm going to check the box that I went to church or I watched it online, and I'm going to check the box that I prayed today. Cool. Guess what that gets you? Lukewarm. And you know what Jesus says about lukewarm in the Bible? I'll spit you out. Right? There's a difference between being sold out and like fully in. Are you fully in? And when you're fully in, sometimes you might have to carry that cross. And it's going to be tough. And from where you're at right now, if God told you how much cross that you're going to have to carry, you're going to be like, yeah, no thanks. But once you level up and you get to that level and you have to carry that cross, the cross that looks super heavy from where you used to be no longer doesn't look heavy where you're at. Because you've gotten stronger. You've gotten more fulfilled. You've gotten closer to God. You've now seen things that you can't unseen. One of the persons was struggling on the hike this weekend when we went up there. And this is a person who's in, like if you saw him, like you're going to be like, this guy's in pretty good shape. And so on the hike back down, I told the others, because my wife was there, I said, hey, baby, you lead the rest of the group down. Told James, the other coach there, I said, hey, brother, can you guys lead them down? All the rest of the people, I said, I'm staying behind. Because I'll never leave a brother behind. I said, I'm staying behind with them. Maybe this is what God wants us to be. This alone time for us to get that I'm staying with them. And on the way back down, he said, man, I've always just kind of struggled with things like this. And if you saw him, you wouldn't think that. And what it comes down to is that when we started the hike, he had already been defeated because he saw the hike. And what he also saw was what he told himself. I'm not good at things like this. There was majority of the people who were on this weekend don't hike, but they crushed it. But they also didn't tell themselves, I'm not good at things like this. So when we tell ourselves I'm not good at things like this, our body will follow that. What if we just say, I am good at things like this. Maybe I'm new to this, but I'll be good at it. Why? Because I know God will be there with me, and it'll be all right. And he got a breakthrough because he pushed harder than I've seen a lot of people push in this life. Most people don't push. A little bit of pain, I'm good, time to stop. Send me a stimulus check. There ain't no stimulus checks in greatness land, I'll tell you that right now. You got to earn that, baby. And when you earn it, it feels good. I was almost in tears last night because my birthdays my life were always terrible. I came from a hard upbringing. And then in my earlier 20s, late teens, most of the pain that I was experiencing was because of personal choice. And so birthdays for me have never been special, even though my wife does an amazing job to honor me and celebrate me, but they've never been special. I care less about them, honestly, if you want the truth. I almost forgot it was my birthday until Saturday, and my wife was like, hey, it's your birthday tomorrow. And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I knew it was coming up, right? When I'd planned this event, I saw it was going to be my birthday, but I kind of had forgot about it because it was more about celebrating them. And I was like, yeah. But it came full circle because I was supposed to be celebrating my birthday on this day for a reason, because God wanted to say, when all those other times when you chose to have a bad birthday and a bad mindset about it, I'm going to show you what your greatness is right now and how far you've come. And everybody in that room, Diane, God bless her, and maybe it's a thing you can start implementing in your family. And what I learned from my other family of choice out in Texas, is that when it's somebody's birthday, everybody in the room goes around and says something and honors that person. And my wife did that yesterday, led it for all the people in the room, and everybody went around the room and said something about me. And the things they were saying about me are 100% true. But what they were saying about me broke my heart. I mean, not break my heart, but like had me almost in tears, because that was what I've always wanted people to say about me, and I never knew was going to be possible. But then God got me there. And it was surreal for not only the people that were in that room to be able to say that about me, to watch the transformations that were happening, watching people to come to Christ. But then my phone's also blowing up from people who, as I still coach athletes on the side, talking about that some of them are at nationals right now getting wins and all these other things. And then I can go in my social media and people saying nice things about me and all these other things, right? Like, or having certain videos go up and then people having it affect their lives. And it was just like, man, I could turn on anywhere today and just see greatness, that because I said yes. Not only yes to myself, but yes to God, and yes to having people in my life and searching them out. My life heavily transformed 5 months ago, even more so when I started seeking out like-minded people. Coaches have coaches. I have a coach. And when I reached out to my coach, I said, hey, brother, I said, I said, man, I go, I'm a coach, and I gave him a little bit about myself, and I said, I need to find a brotherhood of like-minded people. And you know what he said after we went back and forth? He just happened to be putting on an event. And I felt blessed that he chose me to be a part of it. And 5 months later, my life has been drastically changed. And they're my new family. But I also had to put my money where my mouth was. It's not like it's free. It's not like, yeah, come out, man, come do all this stuff for free. Like, no, sometimes you got to pay for it. But you know what I don't have? I don't have 2 cars. I have 1 for my whole family. Because you know what I do with my money? I invest it into myself, and I invest it into the kingdom, and I invest it into my business. And I don't have a bunch of brand new clothes. Most of my clothes I've had for years. We just got a new comforter for our bed. You know how long we had the last comforter? I think it was probably like 12, 13 years. We don't buy things like that because we invest in ourselves. And then you get to see things that you can never unsee. Some of you guys got Rolex watches and you're hurting. Some of you guys got dope cars with big old tires on them and you're depressed and full of anxiety. Some of you have a ballin' house and your marriage is falling in shambles. But then when it comes to putting your money where your mouth is to invest in yourself, you don't. Or maybe you just didn't know that's what it took. Sometimes you got to do that. Why? Because it proves to somebody else that you're committed. That you are committed. That's why it says in the Bible, he who can be trusted with little can be trusted with many. That's why you're going to ask for God's help, and he's going to go, okay, here's a little bit. Let me see what you're going to do with that little bit of help. if you get ungrateful and be like, oh, give me more. I just need more. But and you're pouting about it, and you don't take advantage of the little, he's not going to go ahead and just give you more because you're not ready for more. Whatever you're ready for is ready for you. You're not ready for it if you're going to be ungrateful about the little. So that's what it is when you invest in a coach or you get around a community that sometimes you got to pay to be a part of at first. And then after a while, they just become your family and you don't no longer have to pay. But when you do that, guess what happens? You show that you're committed. Disneyland, Hawaii, Southwest Airlines, I don't know, any restaurant in your city just doesn't say, hey, come on in and eat all of our food. No, you got to put your money where your mouth is. So if you're willing to put your money where your mouth is for food and TV and movies and trips, you got to do it to find that community sometimes. And I guarantee you what, I've traveled this world. I've been a lot of places. And I'll say most of the places I've been, it's cool. Nothing great. But when I found my brotherhood, my community, and my family of choice, that's when life got great. That's when life got great. Go find that for yourself. Maybe that's with me. You want to come work with me and my wife? We'll level you up, your marriage. Maybe it's somebody else. Because maybe I'm not that fit for you. Maybe somebody else is, and go get that. That's 100% cool. But go find your community. Tune in. I just want to thank everybody who always tune in. If you want, please rate the podcast, follow, subscribe, whatever that is. Helps us grow. But what it helps it does, it helps move the kingdom of God forward and get this in other hands of other people. God bless you all. You have an amazing week ahead and understand you are worthy. We love you. Much love.